Watch closely. A young woman is driving along a familiar route, a simple highway, a gas station. She calls her parents, everything's fine. Her car is found soon after, engine running, door open. Inside, her backpack, a bottle of water, and a map, but she's gone. Surveillance cameras just happened to fail at that exact moment. Her sneaker is found 3 miles away, neatly placed by the roadside. Later, her bag turns up, and in the middle of the night, her phone suddenly pings, 27 miles from where it all began. Now ask yourself, who's planting items in places already searched, and why? Why do all the missing people on this road leave behind the same clues, as if tracing someone else's path? And most of all, if it's all just coincidence, why does it keep happening? Highway 93 in Montana stretches across endless plains, cutting through a landscape of fields and low hills. In 2004, the stretch connecting Kalispell to southern towns was known for its emptiness. Few cars, isolated gas stations, faded motel signs. Locals called it the road to nowhere, not because it lacked a destination, but because of the rumors that had been passed down for decades. In the 1980s and 1990s, hitchhikers vanished along this road. All that remained were abandoned cars and scattered belongings. Kalispell, a small town nestled near the Rockies, seemed like the perfect place for a quiet life. In 2004, around 20,000 people lived here. Most of them knew each other. Gas stations and roadside diners served as resting spots for travelers heading to Glacier National Park or further south. But behind its beauty lurked a dark reputation. Highway 93 was never safe after dark, said truck driver Roy Thompson in a local interview, a quote later picked up by newspapers. Stories of strange encounters and disappearances passed from mouth to mouth, but no one dared speak too loudly. On the evening of September 14, 2004, it happened again. At Big Sky Fuel, a gas station 10 miles south of Kalispell, a car was found parked by the pump, engine running. The driver, gone. Police arrived, but found no signs of a struggle, no clear evidence, just the silence of the highway and the flickering neon sign of the station. Why had this ordinary place become the center of yet another mystery? Official reports from that time provide no clear answers. But sheriff's archives mention other disappearances within a 20-mile radius, some just 27 miles from that very gas station. Locals interviewed later spoke of something wrong with that stretch of road. One man, who wished to remain anonymous, told rangers, "It's always too quiet after sunset, like the road swallows the sound." Sarah Mitchell, a 25-year-old University of Montana student, was the last person anyone would imagine at the center of such a story. Originally from Billings, she was studying environmental science and dreamed of working in national parks. Her friends described her as organized and cautious. Sarah always planned her trips down to the smallest detail, said her friend Caitlin Wilson in an interview with police. In the summer of 2004, Sarah decided to take a road trip across the western United States, inspired by books about adventure and freedom. Her old 1998 Ford Escort was her companion on that journey. She kept a journal where she wrote down her plans and impressions. The last entry, dated September 13, 2004, read, "Kalispell is a cute little town, but something in the air feels heavy." She didn't mention anything specific, but her friend Caitlin later said that Sarah called her the day before she went missing and sounded slightly unsettled. She said she wanted to leave Kalispell as soon as possible, Caitlin recalled in her statement. Sarah had no debts, no legal issues, and no personal conflicts. Police investigators found nothing suspicious in her background. She didn't use drugs, had no known enemies, and her social circle consisted mostly of family and close friends. Her parents, John and Linda Mitchell, said that Sarah called them every 2 days to let them know where she was. The last call came on September 14th at 4:30 p.m. when she told them she had stopped at a gas station to refuel and grab a coffee. She sounded normal, John Mitchell told the sheriff, but she did mention a strange guy hanging around the station. So the question remains, how could someone with such a clean, peaceful life simply vanish without a trace? Her friends and family emphasized that she was not prone to impulsive decisions or risky behavior. And yet, the state of her car, found at the gas station, suggested that something went wrong within just minutes. The police report noted no signs of abduction or assault, just an empty car and an open door. September 14, 2004 began as just another day in Sarah's journey. According to her journal, she checked out of her motel in Kalispell at 10 o'clock a.m., planning to reach Missoula by evening. At 2 o'clock p.m., she stopped at Glacier Diner, 5 miles outside of town, where a waitress named March Hansen said Sarah ordered a sandwich and coffee. She looked tired but not worried, March told the police. Sarah sat by the window, flipping through a map, and left about 40 minutes later. At 4:30 p.m., Sarah called her parents, telling them she was fueling up at Big Sky Fuel and would soon be back on the road. The call lasted less than 2 minutes. Phone records confirmed the signal came from a tower about a mile from the station. At 5 p.m., she texted her friend Caitlin, "Some weird guy keeps staring, I'm heading out." That was the last message ever sent from her phone. The gas station's exterior camera, mounted above the shop entrance, recorded Sarah stepping out of her car at 5:10 p.m. She entered the store, bought a bottle of water, and returned to her car about 5 minutes later. The cashier, 19-year-old Brandon Clark, later told police that Sarah appeared calm, but briefly glanced at a man standing at the next pump. He was wearing a dark hooded jacket. "Nothing really stood out, but she looked alert," Brandon said in his statement. The camera couldn't clearly capture the man's face due to poor resolution. At 5:20 p.m., Sarah should have driven away, but her car remained in place. By 6 p.m., as the sun began to set, Brandon noticed that the Ford Escort was still parked, engine running. The driver's door was open. The keys were still in the ignition. Brandon called the police, thinking the driver might have gone inside or to the restroom, but Sarah never returned, raising the question, what could have caused her to leave the car like that? The police log shows the call came in at 6:07 p.m. and notes no visible traces left in the parking lot. When officers arrived at Big Sky Fuel at 6:25 p.m., the scene appeared deceptively simple. Sarah's car was parked at pump number 3. The engine was still running, headlights on. The keys remained in the ignition, and on the passenger seat sat her open backpack with her belongings inside, a wallet with $43, a map of Montana, and a bottle of water. There were no signs of a struggle or damage to the vehicle. Everything looked like she meant to come right back, Officer David Wilson recorded in his report. The inspection of the gas station yielded no further leads. The camera above the store entrance showed that Sarah entered at 5:10 p.m. and exited at 5:15 p.m., but she never appeared on camera again after that. A second camera, aimed at the parking lot, was out of order, something that later raised serious questions among investigators. Cashier Brandon Clark confirmed that he did not see where Sarah went after she left the store and noticed nothing suspicious. The only unusual detail he mentioned was that the man in the dark jacket, who had been standing at the adjacent pump, left almost immediately after Sarah. Police interviewed 2 other witnesses who were present at the station, truck driver Roy Thompson and a local man who had stopped to buy cigarettes. Roy reported that he saw Sarah speaking with someone near her car, but couldn't make out the person's face due to the approaching twilight. "They only talked for about 30 seconds. Then I looked away," he said in his official statement. The second witness didn't notice anything at all. The police log noted, "The lack of clear eyewitness accounts makes establishing the timeline after 5:15 p.m. extremely difficult. A canine unit was called in, but the dogs failed to pick up a trail. They just circled the area as if the scent vanished near the vehicle," reported canine handler Michael Reed. The first night of the search turned up nothing. Highway 93 slipped into darkness, interrupted only by the flickering neon sign of the gas station. What happened in those few minutes when Sarah disappeared? Big Sky Fuel, located 10 miles south of Kalispell on Highway 93, looked like a typical roadside stop in rural America on the evening of September 14, 2004. A lonely neon sign blinked above the entrance, casting a dim green glow over the pavement. Surrounding the station were open fields that faded into low hills. The nearest town was a 15-minute drive away. According to cashier Brandon Clark, after 5 p.m., there were rarely more than 2 or 3 cars at the station. "This place feels like it freezes in time when the sun goes down," he noted in the report filed by the Flathead County Sheriff's Office. And it was here, under that fading light, that Sarah Mitchell's car was found, engine running, driver's door open. The police who arrived on scene and conducted the initial inspection recorded the following in the report. Officer David Wilson. "A blue 1998 Ford Escort is parked at pump number 3. Engine running, tank nearly full, no visible tire tracks or signs of damage. Sarah's backpack on the passenger seat contained a wallet with $43, a map of Montana, and a bottle of water purchased at 5:15 p.m. The dusty pavement around the vehicle bore no shoe prints, which struck investigators as odd considering the dry weather. The canine unit, called in by 7:30 p.m., was unable to pick up any trail. The gas station stood at the intersection of Highway 93 and a secondary dirt road leading to an abandoned farm field, barely visible on the map. That road disappeared into darkness, with no streetlights, no houses nearby. Ranger Michael Reed, who participated in the inspection, wrote in his report, "After sunset, this area feels completely cut off from the world. Even the sound of passing cars gets swallowed by the wind." Police searched the surrounding mile but found nothing, just empty beer cans and an old tire. The dusk that settled over the highway only deepened the surreal atmosphere. According to the Kalispell Weather Service, temperatures dropped sharply that evening and a light fog began to settle along the road. Why did Sarah, who had carefully planned her trip, abandon her car in such a place at such a time? By the morning of September 15th, 2004, news of Sarah Mitchell's disappearance had spread among locals. At Glacier Diner, where Sarah had eaten just hours before vanishing, waitress March Hansen told police she had heard rumors about Highway 93. "People say hitchhikers have gone missing there since the 80s. No one likes driving that road at night," she was quoted in the interview transcript. Though unconfirmed, these stories added a troubling undertone to the case. Local resident William Bill Crow, a 62-year-old farmer, told rangers about a 1992 incident when a 19-year-old motorcyclist went missing on the same stretch of road. His bike was found in a ditch. The rider was never located. "The police never figured out what happened," Bill said, refusing to speak on camera for the local news channel. Other residents interviewed in the first few days recalled similar stories. "Oh, bull, and I am now old." In 1987, a young woman vanished after checking into a motel 25 miles south of the area. In 1998, a truck driver disappeared, leaving his semi parked on the roadside with the headlights on. The Flathead County Sheriff's Office requested access to old archives to verify these rumors. In a report dated September 16th, Detective Linda Hayes noted locals reference at least 3 disappearances on Highway 93 over the past 20 years, all remain unsolved. However, witnesses often avoided details as if afraid to draw attention to the road. One gas station owner from a nearby stop told rangers, "After dark, don't stop out there. People feel like something's wrong." Though not hard evidence, these comments contributed to a growing sense of unease. The police log stated that most locals avoided Highway 93 after sunset, preferring longer detours. "It's not just a road, it's a place where people disappear," one anonymous resident was quoted in the newspaper. But what exactly made this stretch so terrifying? All 3 cases shared disturbing similarities. Inatante. Vehicles left behind, with keys still in the ignition or engines running. No signs of a struggle. Disappearances that occurred at dusk or in the night. Detective Linda Hayes, who was leading Sarah's investigation, wrote in her September 17th report, "The resemblance between these cases raises questions, but there is no direct evidence linking them." The archives also contained inconsistencies. In the 1987 case, one witness claimed to see the girl Loris with a stranger, but his description didn't match any others. In 1999, dogs again failed to track a missing person, just as in Sarah's case. Police requested assistance from rangers at Glacier National Park, whose jurisdiction partially overlapped with Highway 93. Ranger Michael Reed, who participated in the 1992 search, said that back then the area was scanned using thermal imaging and a helicopter, but without success. "It's as if people just vanish," his words were quoted in the report. In 2004, the technology was still limited. A phone ping could give a rough location, but precise geolocation didn't exist, and thermal imaging was used on only one helicopter. The archived cases only strengthened the sense that Highway 93 hides something deeper than just random disappearances. However, none of the earlier cases had been solved, and the police couldn't determine whether they were connected to Sarah's disappearance. Why had this particular stretch of road become a site of repeated vanishings, and what linked them to Sarah Mitchell? By the morning of September 15, 2004, the police expanded their witness list in the Sarah Mitchell case. Among those questioned was Roy Thompson, a 47-year-old truck driver who had passed the Big Sky fuel gas station on the evening of September 14th. In his statement recorded at the sheriff's office, Roy claimed he saw Sarah around 5 o'clock p.m., standing by her car and speaking with a man in a dark jacket. "They only spoke for about 30 seconds, then he walked over to his pickup truck," Roy stated in the report. However, he couldn't describe the man's face due to the approaching twilight. Roy's statement became the first potential lead, but it raised questions. According to the station's surveillance footage, Sarah exited the store at 5:15 p.m. and returned to her vehicle. No man is seen near her on the recording. Detective Linda Hayes, who was leading the investigation, noted in her report, "The witness claims to have seen a conversation, but the camera only shows Sarah walking to her car. He may have been mistaken about the time." Roy stood by his version but declined further questioning, citing a tight work schedule. His old Dodge pickup was inspected by police, but no evidence was found. The police then sought other witnesses who may have seen the man in the dark jacket. Gas station cashier Brandon Clark confirmed he saw a similar man at the neighboring pump but didn't notice him speaking with Sarah. "He filled up and left. Nothing strange," Brandon told Officer David Wilson. The conflicting accounts from Roy and Brandon made it difficult to build a clear timeline. Roy claimed the man left right after the conversation, but the camera didn't record any pickup truck leaving the station at that time. On the second day of the search, September 16, 2004, rangers from Glacier National Park assisting police made a strange discovery. Roughly 3 miles south of Big Sky Fuel, along a dirt road leading to an abandoned field off Highway 93, they found one of Sarah's sneakers. A white Nike, placed neatly on the roadside, as if someone had deliberately set it there. It looked clean, no dust, even though the road was dry and dusty, Ranger Michael Reed wrote in his report. The second shoe, which Sarah had been wearing, was never found. The discovery puzzled investigators. Forensic analysis confirmed the sneaker belonged to Sarah. Her DNA was found inside, and the sole matched the style described by her friend Caitlin Wilson. Yet, there were no footprints, no tire marks, and no other physical evidence to explain how the shoe got there. "It doesn't follow any logical pattern," Detective Hayes wrote in her report. "If Sarah was walking, where's the other shoe? If someone took her, why leave just one?" Police searched the nearby field using canine units, but the dogs again failed to catch a scent. The dirt road where the sneaker was found led to a rundown barn less than a mile from the highway. Rangers inspected the barn, but it was empty, its floor rotting, surrounded by overgrown weeds. There were no signs Sarah had ever been there. Local farmer William Crow, whose field was nearby, told police, "No one walks that road. It's been abandoned for 10 years. He also mentioned that in 1992, on that same stretch, the wallet of missing motorcyclist Cody Parker was found, also neatly placed on the roadside. The sneaker became the central mystery. The police log stated, "The object does not match the profile of an abduction, an escape, or an accident." Investigators theorized that the sneaker may have been placed there later, but by whom and why? Instead of clarifying the circumstances, the clue deepened the mystery surrounding Sarah's disappearance. The canine unit brought in to search for Sarah encountered bizarre behavior from the dogs. On September 15, 2004, two German Shepherd search dogs, Rex and Sheila, were brought to Big Sky Fuel. They were given Sarah's sweater from her backpack to sniff. Canine Officer Michael Reed, working with the unit, noted in his report, "The dogs were restless, circling around the car, but failed to pick up a trail. Rex barked at an empty spot, and Sheila simply laid down and refused to move." This behavior was highly unusual for trained dogs. Police and rangers repeated the attempt the next day, moving the dogs to the dirt road where the sneaker had been found. The result was the same. Rex sniffed the sneaker, but instead of tracking the scent, he began to growl and back away. Sheila, normally very active, remained completely still, staring toward the abandoned field. "I've never seen dogs act like that," said Michael Reed in an interview with the local newspaper. He noted that the dogs, trained to locate people even under difficult conditions, seemed to have encountered something that frightened them. Rangers speculated that their behavior could have been affected by natural factors, such as the strong scent of chemicals or the presence of wild animals. However, environmental testing revealed nothing unusual, no signs of predators, no traces of chemicals. The wind coming from the field was mild, and the weather remained dry. "It was as if Sarah's scent simply disappeared," Michael Reed wrote in his report. The police requested a second canine unit from Missoula, but the results were identical. The dogs could not follow any trail. When local residents heard about the dogs' behavior, they began recalling old stories. Farmer William Crow mentioned that during the 1998 search for trucker Ron McCabe, dogs also refused to work on that section of the highway. "They howled and kept circling like something was scaring them," he told rangers. This coincidence, documented in the police report, added a new layer of mystery to the case. Why were dogs, capable of finding people from miles away, unable to help this time. An analysis of Sarah Mitchell's movements on the day of her disappearance revealed another mystery. According to her journal, found in her backpack, she had planned to drive straight down Highway 93 to Missoula. However, the footage from the Big Sky fuel station and witness testimonies suggested that Sarah may have turned onto a secondary dirt road leading to the abandoned field. She never mentioned any plans to deviate from the route, Sarah's friend Caitlin Wilson told police in a September 16th interview. The road led to no major towns or landmarks, making her choice puzzling. Police and rangers searched the dirt road. It was covered in dry dust and gravel, but no tire tracks from Sarah's car or any vehicle were found. If she went there on foot, there should have been footprints from her sneakers, noted Detective Linda Hayes. The single sneaker found on the roadside only made things more confusing. With no second shoe and no tracks, the theory that she walked made little sense. Sarah's unclear route left investigators baffled. If she turned onto that road, why? Was it her decision or did someone force her? The police log recorded the victim's movements do not match her known habits or plans. This detail, like the mysteriously placed sneaker, did not fit standard scenarios of abduction or escape. A deeper dive into the Flathead County Sheriff's archives raised even more questions. Sarah's case had been compared to earlier disappearances along Highway 93, but the files contained troubling inconsistencies. In one file, a witness claimed to have seen her with a man in a dark jacket. Yet in later documents, this witness vanished from the records, their statement unmentioned. Someone removed his name from the case file, noted Detective Linda Hayes in her September 19th report while reviewing the old files. In the 1992 case involving the missing motorcyclist, the time the bike was found in the ditch varied across documents. Some said 7 o'clock p.m., others said 11 o'clock p.m., a 4-hour gap that rendered the timeline unreliable. A similar issue occurred in the Ron McCabe case. One report claimed his truck was found 2 hours after his disappearance, but the duty log recorded the call 6 hours later. Such discrepancies should not exist in official records, Hayes quoted in her report. Police consulted the department's archivist, 60-year-old Richard Green, who had worked in the county since the 90s. Richard confirmed that the Highway 93 disappearance cases often contained errors or missing pages. I've seen files get lost or rewritten, but I can't say whether it was accidental, he told the detective. He also mentioned that in 1978, a case involving a tourist found with an empty tent had been closed without explanation, despite park rangers urging continued searches. These archival inconsistencies deepened the suspicion that Highway 93 was hiding more than just random incidents. A September 20th police journal entry noted, "The archives provide no clear narrative and contradictions hinder the connection to Sarah Mitchell's case. Why are the documents that should clarify the history instead clouding the investigation?" By September 21st, 2004, the investigation into Sarah Mitchell's disappearance had reached a dead end. But a new witness unexpectedly added a strange twist to the case. Edward Ed Harris, a 62-year-old retired trucker from Kalispell, contacted police after reading a newspaper article. In his statement, recorded at the Flathead County Sheriff's Office, he claimed he had seen Sarah in 1992 in a similar situation on Highway 93. "I gave a ride to a girl who looked just like her, up to the gas station. She looked scared, said some guy was following her," Ed recalled in the transcript. He added that he dropped her off at Big Sky Fuel and never saw her again. Ed's statement confused investigators. In 1992, Sarah was a 13-year-old schoolgirl from Billings and couldn't have been hitchhiking alone, Detective Linda Hayes noted in her report. The witness insists on the resemblance, but his story doesn't match the victim's biography. And police checked Ed's background and found that he worked as a driver until 2000, had a clean reputation, but his story about a girl resembling Sarah Mitchell in 1992 was not supported by any official records. The archives contain no mention of a girl matching Sarah's appearance in that area at the time. Ed provided further details. He said the girl wore white Nike sneakers and mentioned a man in a dark jacket who had been watching her. This coincidence, with Sarah's own missing sneaker and Roy Thompson's statement about the man in the jacket, deeply unsettled investigators. However, Ed was unable to clearly describe the appearance of the girl or the man, citing how long ago the event occurred. "I'm not sure, but her face seems familiar," he told Officer David Wilson. Police considered his testimony unreliable but documented it in the report. This witness raised more questions than answers. If Ed was mistaken, why did his description match specific details of Sarah's case? And if he was telling the truth, how could he have encountered someone resembling Sarah Mitchell 12 years before her disappearance? The police report dated September 22nd noted, Harris's testimony is unconfirmed but cannot be completely ruled out. On the fifth day of the search, September 19, 2004, the police received an unexpected lead. The phone company Verizon reported that Sarah Mitchell's phone, a Motorola Razr, had pinged a cell tower 26 miles south of Big Sky Fuel on Highway 93 at 2:35 p.m. on September 15th, a full day after her disappearance. The location was a desolate area with no roads, no towns, only open fields and occasional farms. Detective Linda Hayes wrote in her report, a phone signal from a zone without cell coverage raises serious questions about its origin. Phone data analysis revealed that the ping was a single signal, with no calls or messages sent. It was just a signal, as if the phone turned on for a second and then off again, said a Verizon technician in a conversation with police. Sarah's parents, John and Linda Mitchell, confirmed that her phone had been fully charged and with her when she disappeared. The last known message from Sarah, sent to Caitlin Wilson at 5 o'clock p.m. on September 14th, mentioned a strange man. After that, the phone was completely inactive, until the mysterious ping. This signal became one of the most perplexing clues in the investigation. The police log recorded, the location of the ping does not match any logical movement by the victim. How did Sarah's phone end up so far from the gas station? And why did the signal appear only a day later? Investigators couldn't rule out the possibility that someone else turned on the phone, but the lack of any tracks or signs near the ping location made that theory unlikely. A search operation on September 19th and 20th uncovered another detail that added to the unsettling nature of the case. Rangers surveying the area where Sarah's phone had pinged reported a strange silence in the fields. Michael Reed, leading the team, wrote in his report, around 8 o'clock p.m. on September 19th, all sound seemed to vanish. No birds, no wind, nothing. In this unnatural silence, occurring right at dusk, mirrored descriptions from older Highway 93 cases where witnesses mentioned dead zones. One local farmer told the Rangers, sometimes at night it gets so quiet here it feels like time just stops. He added that during the search for the trucker, his dogs refused to go near a nearby ravine. Police investigated the ravine mentioned by Joseph but found only dry grass and rocks. Things grew even stranger when trucker Roy Thompson came forward again. He claimed that on the night of Sarah's disappearance, at around 5:30 p.m., he had seen a faint flickering light in the field, about a mile from the gas station. It looked like a flashlight, but it was moving too fast. Roy's statement was recorded in the report. He hadn't reported it immediately, assuming it might have been a vehicle. However, cameras on the highway and at the gas station recorded no traffic heading in that direction. The police report dated September 21st noted, witness and ranger observations suggest an anomalous atmosphere in the search zone, but without concrete evidence. On the ninth day of the search, Flathead County Police received a report from Ranger Michael Reed, who was conducting a second inspection of the area along Highway 93, half a mile from the dirt road where Sarah's sneaker was found. There, they discovered her shoulder bag, a small black bag she often carried, according to her friend Caitlin Wilson. It was lying in tall, dry grass about 50 meters from the abandoned barn, which had already been searched 3 times. It looked like it had been deliberately placed there, Reed noted in his report, emphasizing that the grass around it hadn't been disturbed. Inside the bag, police found Sarah's wallet, containing her driver's license, $12, and a note written on a torn receipt from Big Sky Fuel. The note read, "He stopped watching." Preliminary handwriting analysis matched Sarah's writing, but the ink was fresh, which raised more questions. "The note looked like it was written yesterday, not a week ago," wrote Detective Linda Hayes in her September 24th report. The message repeated the wording Sarah had texted Caitlin on September 14th, but its appearance in a previously searched zone seemed impossible. Most disturbing was the fact that the area where the bag was found had been searched with dogs and thermal imaging on September 19th, and nothing was found at the time. Ranger Michael Reed confirmed in a conversation with police, "We covered that field meter by meter. The bag wasn't there." The police log noted, "The discovery of evidence in a previously cleared zone contradicts the logic of the search operation. Forensics found no fingerprints or DNA on the bag or the note, except for Sarah's, ruling out the theory that someone else had planted it." If Sarah left the bag herself, how did it appear in an area we already searched? If someone else placed it there later, why were there no traces? Detective Hayes wrote, "This clue doesn't answer questions, it creates new ones." Like the sneaker, the bag became a symbol of the mystery, defying standard scenarios. By late September 2004, Flathead County Police officially acknowledged that the typical explanations for Sarah Mitchell's disappearance, abduction, escape, or accident were not supported by the evidence. The abduction theory seemed plausible because of the man in the dark jacket mentioned by witnesses. But the lack of struggle, no fingerprints, and no one seeing Sarah with anyone after 5 o'clock p.m. weakened that theory. There is no evidence of a violent abduction, Detective Hayes noted in her September 25th report. The pickup truck mentioned by trucker Roy Thompson was never identified. The escape theory also didn't hold up. Sarah's parents, John and Linda Mitchell, confirmed she had no reason to disappear, no debts, no conflicts, no psychological issues. Her journal entries and phone calls pointed to clear plans to continue her road trip. Sarah was happy. She loved this trip, Caitlin Wilson told police in an interview. The abandoned car with the keys still inside, along with her backpack, also contradicted the idea of voluntary disappearance. An accident, such as falling into a ravine or an animal attack, was ruled out due to the lack of blood, terrain damage, or signs of predators. Ranger Michael Reed, involved in the search, stated, "In Montana, bears or mountain lions leave tracks. Here, there was nothing." The strange behavior of the search dogs and the unusual evidence, the sneaker and the bag, only deepened the sense of uncertainty. The police log dated September 26 recorded, "None of the working theories explain all the facts." Sarah's family, John and Linda Mitchell, continued to hope for her return, but police admitted the chances of finding her were shrinking by the day. Sarah's case, like others before it on this highway, was in danger of becoming another unsolved mystery. What lay behind these paradoxes, and why did the answers seem to be getting further away? By early October 2004, the investigation into Sarah Mitchell's disappearance on Highway 93 in Montana had reached a standstill. Flathead County Police, Glacier National Park rangers, and volunteers had searched dozens of square miles, but found no trace of Sarah and no new evidence. A car with its engine running, a lone sneaker by the roadside, a bag found in a field that had already been searched, and a mysterious phone ping 24 hours later, all of it formed a puzzle that defied explanation. Detective Linda Hayes, in her report closing the active phase of the search on October 3rd, wrote, "The Mitchell case remains unsolved. We have no theory that explains all the facts." In Kalispell, local residents, learning of the investigation's collapse, began avoiding Highway 93 after sunset, even more than before. Farmer Joseph Brown, whose field was near where Sarah's bag was found, told rangers, "This road takes people, and no one knows why." His words, though legally meaningless, captured the mood of Kalispell. Legends about a cursed highway, once dismissed as folklore, were now being discussed seriously in bars and diners. The local newspaper published a piece on October 5th, quoting an anonymous resident, "We've lived here all our lives, and this place scares us." Sarah's parents started a small foundation to keep interest in the case alive and stayed in regular contact with law enforcement. "We don't believe she just vanished," John said in an interview with a local news station on October 10th. "Someone knows what happened." But without new witnesses or evidence, Sarah's case was classified as a missing person, an unsolved crime, archived by authorities. The police log noted lack of progress requires suspension of active search efforts. Highway 93 remained unchanged, a lonely stretch of asphalt winding through fields and hills, dotted with fading gas stations and flickering signs. But for those who knew Sarah's story, the highway had become a symbol of something inexplicable. I don't know exactly what happened to Sarah, but one thing haunts me. There are too many clues that seem staged. A sneaker, clean as new. A bag placed in an area already searched. A note with a phrase she had already texted. A phone that powers on once and never again. This doesn't look like an accident, and it doesn't feel like a spontaneous disappearance. To me, it feels like someone or something is trying to create a story, as if someone is repeating a script that has played out on this highway before. But why? To confuse us or to send a message? That's just my theory. What do you think? Why do clues keep appearing where they shouldn't? Who or what is rewriting the same story again and again, and for what purpose? I'm waiting to hear your thoughts in the comments because in this story it seems no one can write the final chapter. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Here will be much more strange and mysterious to come. Thanks for watching.